It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
All right. So let me know if everybody can hear all right. And I'll put this dark chocolate bar away. Every week we wrap up the week with the real 2A, and you may be noticing over here that you're looking behind the scenes because that is a new video that's only over on Odyssey right now. Kingpin knows about it. He may have seen it. He was the first one here. So this is an interactive, participatory conversation about what's happened this week in the Second Amendment. What we do is post a video. Sometimes I post it earlier in the week. And then in the description of the video, which you're seeing on the screen right now, we have a list of things that were worth watching this week that were second. We got the chocolate hiccups that are Second Amendment interesting or whatever. And you'll notice there's no garbage or paid promotion or slop over here. It's all legitimate, real stuff. So a lot of people choose that are the most 2A, choose to just come to this show and just watch this stuff only. And then they know they're getting the most 2A of things for the week. All right, so we're going to dig in, and like I say, this is a conversation. So click on stuff, wiggle your fingers, whatever you have to do, and be part of the show. And that makes you part of the community, right? Part of the conversation and whatnot. And then you take those kind of skills and you take it into real life. And guess what? At the same time, you're inspiring others to be part of it too. So now we're going to dig in. I have a couple of other treats besides this one that we might click on if I remember, including, I'm going to start doing this. One of our projects, thanks to our Patreons, is the gun calendars, where we attempt to archive Second Amendment history for every single day of the year. So we have a lot of stuff happening this week. My goal would be to do one of these every day. That would be tough because I don't have that kind of time. So I had been doing them once a week, and that was working for a while, but by doing it once a week, you have to record it once in a while, and what happens is it doesn't get put into the list of priorities. What the hell is spectacular? It doesn't get into the list of priorities. So it just gets overlooked, and every like Tuesday or Thursday, I'm like, dang it, I didn't do a weekly thing. So I'm going to try cramming it into this show, mainly because KD and Tony and Locked and Loaded, and there's others down there at the Train and Learn, and I really wanted to get the heads up about that ahead of time, but it turns out they're not really posting anything from there anyway. Edgar posted some stuff on Instagram. Maybe we'll go look on Instagram in a little while. I'll just open up Instagram just so that those EG people in the house get a little taste of what's coming. They're all about the Instagram. Look how slow my internet is. What's up with this? I shouldn't have to deal with slow internet like this, I feel like. Really? Come on, Instagram. Really? All right, there we go. All right, so let's dig into the calendar first. This is the 29th, but the week started out with Hiram Percy's silent firearm being patented in 1910. Interesting, 1910. I think the Gun Control Act didn't happen until 1934. So what happened in those years? I thought he invented this thing right before it. So he must have invented a silent firearm and then later started marketing the can. I don't know that much history, so if you know, let us know. That was 1910, and that was Sunday. No, that was Monday. Then Tuesday, Bianchi Cup. And I don't know if it happened this year. It used to happen, and I put it in here because said it was going to happen, but I really haven't followed up to know. But that's been going on since 1979. I don't know the complete history of it. Hopefully somebody out there has that history archived somewhere. We're going to be talking about Wilston Tactical. They probably have something on it. They'd be the kind of people to keep the history of this alive. But I'm sure lots of other people that are interested in shooting sports could do a pretty good job of keeping this kind of history alive. But I guess something like back in 1979, Bianchi, who is that the guy that invented the leather holster, or at least the leather outside the waistband retention holster? Maybe that was a different person. But anyway, so Bianchi was doing something, making holsters and being a competitive shooter. And then I think his deal was he wanted to have an action pistol match, and everybody else was sitting around being boring or FUDs, whatever the equivalent of a FUD was back then. So he started a competition, and then it kept going. And then I think it dropped off maybe when he died or when he got sick of being 2A. And then the NRA picked it up. What? The NRA picked it up and ran it and still runs it. But, the NRA doesn't do shit. So then we had John Wayne's birthday on Wednesday. And guess what? That's the date I picked to start the campaign. So we have a campaign running for the one of the books, our third book in a series. So we'll probably chat about that in a bit. I probably should drop links because I suck at that. So we're going to go over to here. And we're going to go over to the Indiegogo. This is going on the Indiegogo. Something like our 40th campaign. I'm not totally sure. And here's the way you drop a link with this little linky thing. You grab this little linky thing, and then we'll just shove it over here for now. And we'll drop that down here. How do I pin that? I have to go over to the YouTube to pin that. Let's see. If I go over here and pin it. So if you would, I guess I could do that better. I could say, please check out our new campaign and share it with anyone who might be interested. Would that work? Yeah, I think so. So now we'll pin that one. Replace the pin message. I learned that off of Gizzard. I learned that from watching Gizzard. All right, now I go back down to here. Is that where we were? No, we were at the thing. So the project started. Looks like we only got 3 backers. So I kind of soft started it because I'm all about soft starting now, which is actually pretty shitty. It's doing a dumb way to do this, but I'm only looking for about 100 backers, I think. So we got 3 of them. It's not limited, so I'm hoping more can jump on for sure. But I think 100 will get this thing going. If you're interested, the link is. My audio is a bit choppy. Well, let me try this. Does that make it better? Let me know. And you know what? I can also go into the duck here. No, not there. What are you doing? Not there. I can go into the duck over here. And I can go to here, and I can do this. This must be better. Is this better? Please let me know if this is better. And then I'll put it down to here. Did that change anything? Did that make any effect on the audio? Please let me know. I'll move this back over here. Is it better? No, he's saying no, put it back. Let me go put that back real quick. Oh, it's too much better. I got you. All right, since this thing is going, like I was saying, you can be a backer on this and be one of the early birds, get one for a couple of bucks. And if you're a Patreon, there's a secret perk for Patreon. So, my audio still working? And then we're going to go back to this was where we started on the calendar. I started the campaign on John Wayne's birthday. Figured that would be pretty cool. It was also the day that they did the hearings or the confirmation trials or the last testimonials of Chipman, the Waco bandito assholio, who is, I think, the red herring, the worst person they could possibly pick for the ATF. So they put him out there as a distraction so that all gun owners would frenzy at the mouse, buy guns, stimulate the economy, and be distracted from things like the time we should be spending on the comment period, or maybe any of the other lots and lots of things we could be doing, or focusing on the awesome work that's being done by talented and ambitious people who have dedication to our Second Amendment rights, Second Amendment protected rights. And anyway, so that was the date I picked to start the whole thing. And I don't know, I feel like if I'm going to do campaigns, I might as well start them and end them on dates that are significant. So it'll start on the birthday of John Wayne and the date that the Waco Bandito got his testimonial or whatever, which, is a bad thing. But then it'll end on the Heller decision, which is a good thing, which is the same day as the anniversary of the NFA. Wah, wah. How cool is it, though, that Heller and the NFA are on the same thing? Anyway, that'll be in 30 days, I guess. So that campaign, we'll be talking about that more later. It's a soft open, so you can jump on it now if you want and grab some cheap books, some books before they get expensive, like a regular price. And then please help share it around. That's the main thing, is I really should start that thing off with a bang. It does the logarithms better and stuff, but I do not do things correctly all the time. Back to the calendar, today, or yesterday actually, was, I think, one of the cooler anniversaries. That's where this dude who's a rocket scientist stuck together some PVC pipe and a 2-liter bottle. Can't really tell from my shitty cartoon, but that's literally some PVC pipe, some hose, a hose clamp, and a 2-liter bottle. And he was actually working on a valve, he said, for whatever rocket he was working on, literally a rocket scientist. And he decided, hey, if I jam water through that valve, I guess it could be a super soaker. And he invented the super soaker in 1986. I personally hate the super soaker because it killed the better gun, which was that battery-powered Uzi. But it certainly made $1 billion for that. Well, the company. I think the guy ended up having to sue, if I remember the story, in order to make some money. I think he's okay at the end, though. But the super soaker was cool. I think it's an interesting version of a gun inventor, for one, but it's also a cool piece of U.S. firearms history, because our firearms are part of our society and our culture. Squirt guns, BB guns, and whatnot are part of the ritual or the evolution of showing respect for the firearm, or learning respect for the firearm, and having fun with it is also part of it. And same way that you play sports and games like wrestling, isn't trying to kill the other opponent. It's trying to use the skills of a warrior or a fighter to practice or have fun, or to have a game of skill. And that's where squirt guns and stuff have a role. And the super soaker, being an ingenious squirt gun, literally born of rocket science tree, and water. And it doesn't take any batteries. It just takes a couple of simple parts. It's basically a slam fire shotgun with water. Let's admit it. It's a slam fire shotgun. They cram the water through a valve to diesel it, which is basically the old Daisy 22 diesel powered rifle that the stupid ATF decided to ban. But anyway, super soaker is awesome, and nobody gives that kind of stuff attention because most of them are too busy trying to sell you some stupid optic. Hey, remember, if you can't sell guns because they're not in stock, you can always sell flashlights, knives, and optics. So whatever. Next up is the train and learn. So KD is Kevin Dixie. And I first learned about that dude back in the day at a gun rights policy. Did I just drop out? Might be. This is YouTube censoring. Getting censored by YouTube. All right, I'm shutting down my other computer. Am I still connected? I can't tell what's happening. You have to let me know. My computer's being all weird. So we got KD, Kevin Dixie. Oh man, my computer's not connected anymore. All right. So am I back now? Nope, I'm still seeing weirdness. See, well, it's kind of coming back. I think I know what is doing this, and if it is, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to punch somebody. All right, I think it's back. So Katie is Kevin Dixie, dude who I first seen chat at two conversations, two public, what am I trying to say, presentations at the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Dallas, I think it was. Then again in Chicago. And yeah, cool dude. And he's doing a lot of boots on the ground in a couple of different ways. Second Amendment advocacy is right up there. It's not his, I'm not going to say it's his main goal. He's certainly comfortable with it. And it's definitely one of his main like foundational pieces of his real goal, which is giving people their own equity in their self and then their family and then their community. He's doing good work. And he started doing that in Missouri and went down to Georgia. And now he's doing his second annual Train and Learn event, which is back in Georgia. So a little bit of background on KD. Now the event is in its second year, but separated by the whatever happened last year that if we talk about it, we're censored, even though we're not censored, right? So because of that, he had to offset it by his second annual one by a year. So a bunch of people are showing up in St. Louis, Missouri to meet up as content creators and firearms industry. I think mostly instructors, but I think also things like, well, I know also things like gun shop owners and other things like in the industry. So they meet up, they gather for a weekend, which in itself is interesting because often these kind of events are one day or maybe 2 days, but when they're 2 days, they're not often planned that you're going to be together the whole time. It'll be like business hours and then, business hours the next day. And if you want to do something on your own time, that's your business. But I believe this is a little more structured, a little more inclusive so that there's the ability for everybody to get together for the entire weekend. And I think that's interesting. As somebody who's been around the industry for a while, that is unique. And after seeing what happened the first year with it, can't wait to see what develops from that. Definitely the next level or next step from like comparing it to like the bullshit wannabe meetings that happen, meetings/parties. What they say is a business party, but actually it's a pyramid scheme, Amway scam type of party, quote unquote, or just some like wannabe sit around boring party where everybody wishes they were at a real party. And then the real parties are awesome, but whatever, they're not doing business at those. So this is something where business is getting done. People are truly having fun because they are, friends with each other and not faking it. And from that angle, it's awesome. So I don't know if that angle gets enough credit, but the camaraderie of bringing people together and understanding that they are at an event, they all efforted to get there, and cherishing that side of it or fostering that side of it, I think is awesome. When I would travel to see firearms instructors, there's a big difference between a firearm instructor who's like, it's lunchtime, see you in an hour, and an instructor who's like, bring your lunches because we're eating at the range. And then they ask questions and have a bullshit session during lunch. And people can ask questions about the person or their life, depending on who it is and what they want to share. Those can be epic experiences that take a quote unquote training class from a, sterile bullshit, tourist adventure into you're a friend of the instructor. Literally, they cherish that. Like there's some of these people are literally really people, and then KD's doing it on that level, as far as I can tell. So he's doing an interesting and unique and evolving, or at least for the community, it's an evolving type of project, and it brings together the instructors, it brings together the content creators, and they mix that peanut butter and that chocolate together and give the skills and abilities of each to each other. So the instructors offer what it's like to have some time on a range and to see what instruction is like. As a student, that's interesting, but as a content creator, seeing how someone instructs can be potentially very valuable. So having instructors and having the ability to be in an environment that you're not attending a class, you're not being a part of the class necessarily, and you're not just auditing the class. So having an opportunity to pull triggers and be a part of a class like that, I'm too old for that, but I could see that being completely vital. Like nothing like that has ever happened before. It will be interesting to see the environment or the community once that's happened for a few years, because you know people are going to copy that and emulate it, and that part's neat. The other part of it, where the content creators are sharing with the instructors, of course, most instructors are idiots, and they sit around being weird and awkward because their job is to shoot guns all the time, and they don't know how to be online, where content creators are the opposite. They're awkward and idiots because they don't know how to shoot a gun. So it's, you know, when they get their skills wiped off on each other, they both walk away a little better. So I don't really pay attention to the instructors. I have seen them, when they're adjacent to the content creators or the 2A activists that I watch. So I can tell that they're both ending up better, and they have relationships and they know each other. So they don't need to know everything. If they now know somebody who has the abilities or the skills, they've created that resource. Again, KD's at next level. He's creating a really neat event. So we have a couple of people that are going for the first time. We have people that are going for the second year in a row, and looking forward to seeing the after actions from that. So that's on the calendar. We also have Paul Mauser, some guy from Europe who's a gun guy. They still have Mauser guns. I guess that's him. There's actually two Mausers, so I forget which one that is. One of them was the brother of the other one or something like that. You can go look at that. I don't want to teach you about Mausers because I don't care. That's it on the calendar. So now we're going to leave the calendar and head back over to the video. See if anybody's saying anything good over here. Let's see. Georgia too. Well, he lives in Georgia. The event is in Missouri. Oh, I never left. See, on my side, what I see is this disappears, and then I get a little thing over here that tells me I'm having a bad connection. So let's just blame Clover, right? I mean, it's YouTube censoring me, and Clover is either making it happen or he's allowing it to happen. That's the only explanation I can come up with. No Other Choice. That's the link to the activism that KD does. So he has No Other Choice. Well, okay, I should say that's the link to his firearms instruction, and you could go to that link if you want. But Aiming for the Truth would be his activism. That's another website that where he does more of the community efforts towards, like I say, I think he calls it life equity, or just getting people resources and techniques and stuff. I don't know if you want to call it like counseling as much as like awareness, I guess, or education, somewhere in there. And then once people helps people get their own kind of stuff together, once they've got something to keep, then he is, gets them aware that the Second Amendment's important to keep their newfound or their refound interest in their own equity. So I think that part's neat. And, we got a lot of, when you take somebody who's at risk away from those behaviors, it's like you're taking the number off of that side and adding it to our side. So it's like double the effort, right? Or at least double the results for the effort. And I got to assume that kind of work is not recognized or not appreciated, right? Because it's a lot of one-on-one, and it's difficult. You're not going to exploit every, success because it's their personal business, right? You ain't got to be a fan of everybody, dude. Let's see. Everybody saying hello to each other. This is Echo. This dude had a chat earlier today, keeping people in touch and focused on reloading, giving people good info. Thanks for that. Got the 3-day was also going to be more conducive to the 3D portion. I don't know what that means. Oh, you're talking about 3D printing? I didn't know there was a 3D printing part. There's a link to Echo's channel, which is, like I say, worth watching. Paul and Wilhelm. Yeah, thanks. That sounds right. All right. So next, we're all good to go. So, like say, this is the weekly wrap up. We kind of dug into the calendar over at guncalendars.com to start it out, but I'll be splitting that off and making it its own video eventually. I got most everything in here, but I didn't tidy this one up this week. So maybe we'll go look at Instagram depending on how much interest there is. I don't have any interest in just doing this. I do this for our Patreon. So the people that show up live make the live show exist. I'll just go ahead and read this stuff. If there's live comments, we'll go back and forth with that. Otherwise, we'll just end it after that. Or like I said, we can dig into the Instagram and do some other stuff. But this is probably a good place to remember that I got commercials. So when you pay for this duck, you get this extra thing called brand, and in the brand you can jam videos. So when you jam videos in your brand, you can actually take a break once in a while. So I wouldn't pay for the duck. It's 25 bucks. I'm only able to do it thanks to our Patreons who pay the bills, but regular people probably can't afford 25 bucks a month for that. But it is kind of handy so you can take a break once in a while. All right, so now we're digging in finally to the description of this video on YouTube. Mail call from G23. So G23 is this dude, and he sometimes interviews 2A activists, and every once in a while on Saturday, actually every single Saturday, he does a multi-show or a multi-hour event. And the dude dropped like a lot of money on buying stuff from the store. Again, he's done this before. So to say thanks, I sent him a bunch of stuff. In addition to what he grabbed, but then also some stuff he could use to give away on the store. And just so he realizes, I don't know if he does, I've never given, though there's some people that bought this patch back in 2015. And you may not know, but there's no one's ever seen this patch because very few people participated in the creation of this one. It was we're on crowdfunding project number 40. This was probably number 4. And we were using middlemen for our patches, and one of the reasons we don't use middlemen anymore is because of this patch run. If you can tell from this video, the sewing is very, 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 very close to the edge. So this was a one-stick patch. Once you put it on Velcro, it was never coming off, because if you look at it funny, once it's on Velcro, all the thread falls off and the rubber breaks and it falls to the ground. So it's a very fragile and worthless patch. And the colors are wrong, and it's basically a crappy rubber. It feels like a wet Band-Aid in your hand. So it's the worst patch of all patches. It's very much like the patches you'll get from other companies. But we don't sell that kind of garbage, and we certainly don't want our name on it. So I never gave them to nobody. However, freaking G23 is rocking, and he's basically a member of the team. So I sent him a patch that I thought he might appreciate that, well, nobody else has really. So like I say, there are some people out there who have it, and you know who you are because you helped create them back in 2015, but you know I'm not talking to those people. They're not here anymore. So the one other person knows who has it, got one recently, and thanks to that person. But again, thanks G23 for rocking and seriously helping me pay bills. So I do appreciate it. Like, for example, today's Free Patch Friday, and we have not made a sale yet today. We also have, 3 people back in the project. So it's not like we're rocking with money over here. So I definitely appreciate the people that do support us, because that's why we're here, or it's the only reason we're able to be here. And seriously, we're not even anywhere near being flush. So anyway, whatever. Let's get back into 2A. This week we read the ATF comments live. I guess I ended up doing that kind of every day, but we got some super chats over there. I probably got, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks worth of super chats. So I do appreciate that. That'll pay half of a bill or one of the smaller bills. Then we have the best 2A podcast that happens every single week that's live, and that's on Sundays, and that's the Locked and Loaded Latinos. And this is another good one. They're like, oh, we're not even going to do a podcast, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to play video games. And then they did an entire long podcast and then played video games. I don't care about video games, so I wasn't going to watch it. And then they explained this one video game that all these people are always talking about. So it was actually pretty decent because they didn't really play the video game. They just mansplained the video game for old people. So it ended up being pretty decent. So if you're not watching that one, you're wrong, and you're not even 2A. So you're going to need to start watching it. And the good news is you've got 44 episodes to watch. Let's see. Then we got... how did I get this all mixed up? There's a shooting left to center, and somehow I got locked and loaded. So let's edit that. So since I'm on my own video, I'm going to click on edit, and then I'm going to go in here and take the locked and loaded Latinos part from Yankees part and jam it into where they're supposed to be, and then reformat it so it doesn't look stupid. Then save it, and then go back like that. And that's how you edit a video on the fly while you're live with everybody watching. Yeah. So do you have a PayPal account? I do, but I don't know the name of it off the top of my head because I don't do things like that. You know who does, though? This dude, because he often throws me money on PayPal. I appreciate that very much. Does not go unnoticed. I just don't. Or no, not this dude. Sorry, not you. Oh, but that was Dead Horse. But you look kind of like Dead Horse, so let's act like this dude's Dead Horse. So, but I know Echo knows Dead Horse. So if you talk to Dead Horse, he knows that number. So thank you. And thanks for playing the role of Dead Horse for a moment. Now we'll go back to Locked and Loaded, which is literally the best thing. Like I say, if you think you're 2A, then you're going to like it. And if you're not 2A and you watch it, you'll be 2A. So everybody wins, right? 434 subs. That's how you know that they give a shit about what's going on. They only got 44. They've done 44 episodes and they've got 400 subs. I can read off more than 44 people who I know that have already left YouTube because they wouldn't put in half this much work without any return and leave. So their dedication is obvious. Anyway, then we get Yankee. He's the opposite. He's been going around doing stuff without any intention and being successful all over the place. On top of that, he does his videos every once in a while, and I was in it this week, so there's a link to it. Got Tony and Clover. So Clover tries to be 2A all the time by doing stuff, and then he had Tony on to try to be more 2A. So they chatted for a little while, and this is a link to it. Clover's only got 8,000 subs. But if you look, that's probably more than he had a while ago because of all this, like, trying to be 2A for Texas, right? You know, all these Texans appreciate it and subscribe to his channel and then watch his videos, and then the logarithm goes up. It's almost like 2A helped him out. I don't know. So he had Tony on earlier in the week trying to be 2A, but then he's like, that didn't work enough, right? It worked, but not enough. So then he decided to go live again a bunch of times. I think he went live more than once this week. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with Texas. If he was here, we could ask him why Texas hasn't already signed the thing. But I remember on Sunday he had to go live because the Senate was fiddling with it. Or was it the Congress? The Congress was fiddling with it. Or the House, I guess. And then Monday morning he goes live for like the whole entire day. I had things to do. I'm poor, right? I got to make money. I'm trying to like wash cars and stuff. And I end up watching stupid Texas. I don't even live in Texas, but I keep watching Freedom in Texas all the time because he keeps posting it all day. And then they sign the damn thing, and then they give it to the governor, and now it's a week later, and we're still waiting. So what's up, Texas governor? What's happening with that? If Clover was here, he owes us an explanation. Let's see. VCDL ask a lawyer. They didn't answer my questions this week, but I still like the Virginia Citizens Defense League. They are literally, well, first off, they inspired the Arizona Citizens Defense League, and the Arizona Citizens Defense League is a bunch of dudes who sat around and got constitutional carry for Arizona, which then inspired a ton of other states. So Virginia Citizens Defense League kind of has credit for all constitutional carry, kind of. I'm just saying. And they continue to blow me away. I watch all kinds of 2A stuff, and I'm telling you, nobody does it better than Virginia Citizens Defense League. Literally the best organization, dropping real live chats. Oh, it's amazing. No pretentious, fake anything. It's all legit. It's all real. And what you get is the authentic internet paying attention to it and participating. When you put garbage out there, you attract trolls and losers, and it gets lame. When you're authentic as hell and real, it brings the people in who are authentic, and it's amazing. So I can't recommend enough. Watch the Virginia Citizens Defense League, and if you have the ears or the eyes of the state level organizations in your state, urge them to watch the Virginia Citizens Defense League. They're not doing it perfectly. They're just doing it better than anybody else is or ever has. It's amazing. It's really cool stuff to watch. It's super boring and it's 2A. You're not going to like it, but it is seriously the best stuff going on. It's awesome. All right, now we got Wilston Combat. I don't know how this got in my feed, but it's Ken Hackathorn and Bill Wilson, and they're talking about Elmer Keith and the 44. I'm working on the 2A history project. I need to know this stuff, so I listen to it. It's like listening to Clover, talk to Clover about Clover stuff. But it was interesting. I learned some stuff. I think I learned where you shoot your lights out. If you listen to the video, you tell me. Is that where you shoot your lights out comes from? I don't know. Next up, Kash. Clover thinks Kash isn't even making videos anymore because Clover's not even 2A, but Kash is totally making videos. And one of them was this AMD Underfolder, which actually isn't that interesting compared to that RPK he's got. But I figured I'd blow this video on for a little while just because, you know, from 6 feet away, it looks really nice, right? And it's got the backwards donkey dick. I don't know if y'all know that was a AK collecting is an interesting thing, and that stock and that front underfolder, or I mean that front donkey dick, is the back swinging one. Like that's just that was an unobtainium item for a very long time in the realm of collecting. I have no idea what's going on with that muzzle. That's like watching kids chop their pants off one leg and then sew frizzles on the other leg because it's the style of the time. Makes no sense to me, but they do it. It's got the magazine, which people don't even know how much that magazine would have cost you in 2004. It didn't even exist. If you saw that magazine, you would push a nun into a group of orphans and pick up that magazine and run because it was that rare. And now he's looking at a brand new clean one. That's weird to even see that there's brand new clean ones. I suspect they're fake. Because what the hell? Do you think these things came out of some like, oops, we found a container of magazines from 1976? All right. Anyway, look at that receiver. From 6 feet away, it looks pretty neat. But that's what they call the Battlefield pickup wash or something. So I don't know. I'm no fancy Duracoder or whatever, but it's either paint or some sort of application to make it look like worn metal. It's interesting. Maybe this is paint for all I know. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at all fake here. But I think that's interesting. And if I knew people that were into building back in the day, I would chat with them about this. And that's about as much time I'm spending on AK-47s. But thanks, Kash, for kind of doing that. And he didn't say nothing in that video, by the way. I'm not going to, I guess I could play it. Is he going to care? I don't care. It just has music playing. And I'm guessing that's free YouTube music. You don't do nothing. Now, for some reason, only it's got 186 views, but that video will get eventually a lot of views. Like that video is doing it. And all he did is stick that on his porch. You don't want to know how many people have made giant channels sticking their gun on their porch and doing this. It's all you need to do is stick your gun on your porch. All right. Dragonman's dirt bike track is expanding. So if you don't know, Dragonman's is the best private collection of firearms in the country. And on top of that, he opens it every Wednesday and Sunday and walks you through it personally for 2 hours. And those aren't like a bunch of dummy guns. Those are guns that he owns and he puts in this giant museum and brings people through. He has that museum on a 40-acre plot of land east of Colorado Springs. And this week, he finalized the purchase of the next door 40 acres. So now Dragonman's is 80 acres. Two squares, if I remember correctly. 80 acres. And of course, he's making a dirt bike track and a drag strip and some other stuff. So, yeah, Dragonman's. If you don't know who Dragonman's is, you're not watching this show, so I know you know who Dragonman's is. Let's see. The neoliberal lie that infected the gun community. We'll let Kingpin comment on this because it's Walt. Walt hates Kingpin. So I don't know. This one, I watched it. It was happening while I was live. He quirked me. This show started with a quirking. Walt quirked me. That's how this community is. I'm sitting here just trying to do 2A live, and I'm going to get quirked left and right. Right? That's how the community is. And then they'll say things like, what? Quirking's no big deal. They don't care. Anyway, he played this thing as a video premiere while I was trying to do 2A stuff live. So I was not going to stop my stuff to watch his stuff. And I kind of went back and watched it. And he was like watching other YouTubers complain. So there's no possible way I'm going to watch a YouTuber complain about other YouTubers complaining. But you do you, and Walt is in my list. I didn't get this is a half-assed made, so there's no link to it. But if you know this channel, you know who Walt is. Next up is all the stuff I talked about with Katie and Aiming for the Truth. Boom, here you go. Aiming for the Truth is right here. We did an interview, kind of a chat last year or 2 years ago before. You don't know when I go live. No, I don't know. You may haven't. Maybe you haven't. Possibly. 2 years ago, right before the event, KD came on the channel and we chatted about what was going to happen. Then a little while after the event, we got back together and chatted about how it went. And again, couldn't be more enthusiastic. I've seen a couple of different evolutions of firearms events. I went to the 2A rally in Washington, D.C. in hopes that that would be the beginning of a new type of, interest in 2A rally. Either at a national level or just, the catalyst for a whole new version of them. I went to the Red October thing in DC. Oh, shit, thank you. Whoever bought something, appreciate that more than you can imagine. Then went to, of course, AmCon, completely disappointed. Then going to gun rights policy, was completely enthusiastic about that until they quit and went to virtual only. So they've seceded, I guess. NRA show, of course, is gone, so we don't see any more evolution there. SHOT Show stopped. They claim that they're going to happen again next year. We'll see if they actually follow through on that. But, gun shows are all over the place, literally and figuratively. Some of the promoters are, doing well. They've been doing stuff for a long time. Some of the new promoters have new ideas and are doing okay. Of course, many lost momentum and lost the ability to do shows, either lost their locations or lost their audiences, and not necessarily due to their own actions or irresponsibility or poor actions or consequences of poor actions, but often, in fact, usually it's the dying of gun shows, in my opinion. And I've only been to a lot of them or whatever. I haven't been to all of them, but I think it comes from the spasmastic, is that a right word? Like a bunch of people being a spaz is called spasmastic. Like reflex, dumbass reflex that the community does every time somebody tells them to be worried about ammo. So when the first couple of times in Y2K, before most of these people were born, by the way, in Y2K, when we would go to gun shows and started to see the spasmastic masturbatory hoarding of ammunition, which I took part in. I'm not saying I'm not better than that, but that was the first time I dealt with it, so it's not my fault. We ruined gun shows quite a bit. I didn't realize it until the after effect, and then I was like, damn, we ruined gun shows. And then, of course, the end of the assault weapons ban was a bit of a reverberation, whatever the word is, of gun shows, and we got a little bit back. And then for a minute there, just for a minute, 2006 to 2008 was probably the sweet spot for guns in this country. I think I just said that. I think 2006 to 2008, at least for gun shows, that was the last of the amazing gun shows. And they weren't amazing. They weren't good compared to the olden days, but that was the last of anything good ever. And then 2012 was like not just a death blow. 2012 with the couple of 22 factories burning down and deciding to rebuild with new infrastructure. So they took their time rebuilding. And then the antis, intentionally or not, using that opportunity to do the 23 executive actions, or the threat of 23 executive actions. And there was a bit of a strain on AR receivers back then, if I remember. All of that just about destroyed gun shows to where gun shows are just plastic bullshit. pictures of what they used to be. And then you're saying that, well, yeah, currently though, yeah. So anyway, I think I was ranting that we're seeing the drastic change in what we do when we get together, and some of the different type of spasmatic, but basically goofy, weird, alienating, non-inviting weird shit that's going on out there is not helping nothing. And KD's event is an alternative to that. KD's event is something that's wholesome and good and growing the community, offering positive additions to the community instead of just more fractured division or whatever. So anyway, that was a long ass way of saying KD's thing is this weekend, and it's awesome, and hopefully we'll see a bunch of results either immediately or in the long term like we did with the last one. Then we get Mil-Spec Monkey. So a bunch of the people out here wish they could be just like the other jerk ass who wishes he was on TV. Little do you know that they all wish they were Monkey. So before any of these people even probably had a computer or maybe even an internet connection, Monkey was going to SHOT Show filming videos, and he is more than OG. He's like, he started the whole venue of it, and he's still doing it. This is a video from the other day. This is an ops core, so everybody wears skateboard helmets and whatnot to look like an ops core. An ops core is the real. And then, I don't know, some kind of riot shield for whatever reason. That was like a 4-minute video. So if you're the kind that wants to know how a video is done, this is like watching Bruce Lee do Jeet Kune Do, except videos. The boss, or the OG of all YouTube videos, is Mil-Spec Monkey. Those two other dudes, if you know who they are, then you win. But nobody will know who those are. Maybe B226 Nut and maybe Angry, but they don't listen to the show. Let's see, my first hog hunt. So this is regular gun guy doing his thing. I watch his show. I don't always participate because they're basically all new. But it was certainly interesting to watch a bunch of people that are new to doing everything really go hog hunting. And I'm not ever doing this, but has anybody ever seen this where you get around on this giant, I don't know what this machine is. It's some sort of just giant elevated deck with Bigfoot wheels underneath of it. And they drive around shooting pigs off the top of it. Kind of interesting. There's a dog running around. That's scary. And he's shooting it with a 10mm carbine. So anybody who has a 10mm carbine and you think it's capable, go watch that video and then go buy a real gun. Here's a video of mine that somebody made a comment on, and that usually reminds me that I made this video. So this is from 2015, and these are daisies. A friend of mine had a bunch of daisies, and he's like, hey, you want to look at these? So I grabbed them. I bought one of them, actually. I owned it for a little while, and then I realized that I'm not rich, and I shouldn't own stuff that's worth money. So I sold it again. But Daisy is a company that makes BB guns. Super interesting history. Highly recommended. I can't wait to get to the factory. There's a 3-hour video about the factory, or I mean the 3-hour video about the Daisy Museum that is amazing. It is amazing. It's so amazing. I'm gonna go look at it right now to drop the link. I learned a lot, and I can't wait to get to the Daisy Museum because of it. DAISY Museum. Daisy. Oh, you know what? I probably gotta put air gun in there because of stupid flowers. Stupid flowers. I was messing with our BB guns. Air gun. 2-hour and 34-minute video. Is that the one? Probably. This is probably it. Maybe it's not 3 hours, but if you feel like you're ripped off because it's not actually 3 hours, punch yourself in the nuts because it's awesome. This is one of the best videos ever. So that's the Daisy Museum. I drew a cartoon of it. Haven't been there yet. It's in Arkansas. Ghost won't tell anybody about it. He never mentions it, does he? He's in Arkansas and never talks about it. It's amazing. Really, 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 really cool. And somewhere in the mix, Daisy made these rifles. And they made way better ones that used a diesel compression to ignite gunpowder. What? No primer, just pushing air through a funnel creates enough pressure and heat to ignite gunpowder. What? And you just shove the gunpowder on the back of a projectile, so it's looks like a BB with a snot on it, but it's actually a projectile. It's like a caseless projectile. What? And it doesn't qualify as a firearm? What? And then you make it, and the stupid ATF tells you to F off, and you got to destroy all your tooling? What? It's an amazing piece of history. I don't have that one. I got some bullets from it, and then these are a bunch of other guns, and then that one I was fiddling with is a Ring of Fire 22 rifle. So that's a 22 rifle made by Jennings. Most of you people don't even know that Jennings made plastic guns. They didn't. Daisy made them, I think. Or they bought the tooling off of Daisy. Back when I still had time to research guns and stuff, that was one of my things. And that's why I bought the one Daisy. Because you guys act like Clover has a bunch of 22 rifles, but I bet you I have more tiny 22 rifles than Clover. I just don't get to play with them anymore. And I sold a bunch of them. But I was trying to collect a bunch of these 22s that were basically kind of like the Sears guns. They were made by, I think, Daisy, but then branded to whatever company was buying them, and they cost like $60 back in the day. They're probably hundreds of bucks now. Anyway, this video was me looking at a couple of the different types of Daisy regular 22s. So you can tell these are not the VR 22s or whatever that have the diesel technology. These are just regular old bullets, boring old 22 long rifle bullets. And I think the difference is one's a bolt action, one is a semi and has a magazine. This is the one that's made by Jennings, and you see how it looks underneath. Mine has a magazine. That other one didn't. And it's not a Ruger 1022 magazine because it's like a little rip-off Daisy version of it. So anyway, that's a video. I guess I'll drop it for you. It's in the description. I don't have to drop it. Whenever I get more credits over on the Odyssey, I'll shove it over there. But here's the deal. We're going to go over to Odyssey right now. Odyssey is weird, and you have to pay to put videos up there, kind of. You don't have to pay so much as people have to like your crap. So I can't post anything until people like my crap more or give me tips with these Odyssey credits. I don't really know how it works. I think I think Kingpin has given me credit, so he might be able to tell you. Let's go see if my new video's up yet, and it's not. What the heck is wrong with Odyssey? Odyssey is a goofy thing, and how do I get to my uploads? Uploads. Is this going to work? Maybe it'll work. We're sorry to report tonight another fatality in the epidemic that can trace back to fruit salads. Yesterday in the skies over Texas, an unregistered airplane waitress gave an airline customer a fruit salad legally and with the customer's consent. Fruit salads, for those that don't know, are not steak made from fruit. The man, of course, died later. As scientific evidence proves, all Americans who consume salad will, at some point in their lives, also die. While the airplane waitress was released from detention, it remains to be seen if further charges will be held against her for her actions in the air that day. Sadly, every American of any age and ethnicity who has eaten a salad has died eventually. This is science, and these are the sad facts. The National Salad Aficionados, the NSA, a multi-million-dollar nonprofit that speaks for all salad enthusiasts, spent millions of dollars on lobbying Congress and blackmailing nuns. And while salads do remain legal in most states, many self-appointed and self-righteous groups are working diligently on all of our behalves to end this lawful salad situation. We look forward to a future where salad enthusiasts are free to pursue their vices safely and away from regular people who just want to enjoy their lives safely and in peace, salad-free. Remember, don't learn about salad or what salads do. Just hate salads and hate the people who want a salad. We care about you. Do as we command.
This is an attempt to illustrate what it sounds like to someone who understands firearms and firearms' significance to the United States and both society and culture, when we hear people who have spent very little time actually learning about firearms, when they suggest prohibitions and necessary laws. This is an attempt to illustrate what that sounds like.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Whoa, I don't know if that worked. What happened over here? Boom. I don't know. Could you hear that? I'll try playing it over here, and then we'll find out if you can hear it or not better. We are sorry to report tonight another fatality in the epidemic that can trace back to fruit salads. Yesterday in the skies over Texas, an unregistered airplane waitress gave an airline customer a fruit salad legally and with the customer's consent. Fruit salads, for those that don't know, are nut steak and made from fruit. The man, of course, died later. As scientific evidence proves, all Americans who consume salad will, at some point in their lives, also die. While the airplane waitress was released from detention, it remains to be seen if further charges will be held against her for her actions in the air that day. Sadly, every American of any age and ethnicity who has eaten a salad has died eventually. This is science, and these are the sad facts. The National Salad Aficionados, the NSA, a multi-million-dollar nonprofit that speaks for all salad enthusiasts, has spent millions of dollars on lobbying Congress and blackmailing nuns. And while salads do remain legal in most states, many self-appointed and self-righteous groups are working diligently on all of our behalves to end this lawful salad situation. We look forward to a future where salad enthusiasts are free to pursue their vices safely and away from regular people who just want to enjoy their lives safely and in peace, salad-free. Remember, don't learn about salad or what salads do, just hate salads and hate the people who want a salad. We care about you. Do as we command. That's my attempt at making a reflection of an anti-gun thing. I don't know if it worked or not. Let me know. All right, so that was that, and I think that's it. That was everything I got tonight. We got the project going over on the Indiegogo, so if you would, use the little linky thingy that gives you a shorter link. Oops. If you use the little linky thingy, so it gives you a shorter link, and I think it tracks the link better than if you use the longer link up here, but I honestly don't know. But I do appreciate it if you're able to pass that link along to somebody who might be interested in either a book or supporting a project where we're trying to take Second Amendment history and put it into the palm of people's hands so that we can interpret it, know it, and talk about it in different ways. It's pretty much what I do all the time. It's what we have over on the Minuteman University website, and have been kind of growing that resource for a long time. This is an effort to put all that into paper. For a lot of kids, they don't realize that you can print the internet and then take those pieces of paper and staple them together. And well, back in the olden days, we would call that a book. And then you would use that whenever the internet's off, or if like your phone breaks or something, and it's pretty handy. And then if the worst case scenario, if you got to wipe your butt or start a fire, there you've got some paper. So if anybody's interested in seeing an old-fashioned printout of the internet, then you can grab them for $22 until those run out, and then they'll be $32. I tried to make them calibers, right? So 22 and 32. And then how somehow I got 60 in there, that's nothing. But it is also, this year I turned 50. So if anybody wants to give me $50 for my birthday, I'll take it because I'm poor and I'm way in debt. So if you wanted to grab one of these, then I'll write my name in there, and then you can go around acting like you got something signed from me, and I get more money out of it. So if you want to participate, that's the link. And nobody's really saying nothing in here. So let's see what we got. A lot of people saying hello to each other. Wheeled showed up. Let's see. I'm loading Barnes, 100% copper, 325 grain hollow point with polymer tip pushing 2220 or 2200 feet per second, hitting with a ton of energy. You said all that, but you didn't say what caliber, or did I miss it? So, are you talking about 12 gauge? I would not want to shoot a 100% copper 12 gauge because I don't have that kind of money. And then I have wondered about that from someone not trying to get rich on YouTube. You guys are having something, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like somebody who can actually offer you a suggestion that isn't like really motivated by the what percentage of link they're getting or what percentage of kickback they're going to get or commission they're going to get. Shouldn't call it a kickback. It's just a commission. If done right, it works fabulous in an AR-15. You know, Lancer mag, slightly modified, and you get your parts from the actual guy who designed the system for the SOCOM Tromix. Tromix? You're talking about Tony? So let's go over to my channel and let's go to the question marky thing and let's type in Tromix. So if y'all don't know, Tromix is a badass place in Oklahoma. There's things in Oklahoma that are good. Does this have audio? What the hell did I?
We had a chance to meet up with Tony Rumor of Tromix Lead Delivery Systems at his workshop just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tony's been building firearms since 1999, has a reputation of building exotic and custom firearms. In 2005, at the request of one of his customers, he started looking at the Sega rifles and shotguns and doing some custom work with them. Over the years, he then developed and then perfected a few custom conversions to Sega rifles and shotguns. In fact, he's booked a couple of years into the future, which is an indication of just how sought after his firearms are. Tony took the time to let us visit him at his workshop, turn on our cameras, and do a quick interview. So here's some footage from that visit. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.
Tony, and appreciate you letting us come by and take a tour of the shop. Sure. You do obviously some custom work, like this setup you're making for somebody so they can go hunting. But mostly you do Sega 12 conversions.
Yeah, just Sega 12 conversions. You can see her on the table.
Nobody missed that, right? This is in 2012, and he's over here making an accessible chair for some dude to go hunting with a stabilizer.
Custom work, like this setup you're making for somebody so they can go hunting. But mostly you do Sega 12 conversions.
Yeah, just Sega 12 conversions. You can see her on the table. These are ones that are been finished. They've been initially sandblasted. They'll get a second sandblasting right before they go in for paint.
Okay.
And then they'll be assembled.
And this is not only your building these, but this is your design. You did all the testing.
Yeah, the testing was all done in 2005. Actually, we started in 2004, but most of it was done in 2005. When we started off with a long barrel and slowly moved the gas system back, and slowly moved the barrel back, and played with that ratio of barrel length to gas port until we got it.
It's not so simple as just cutting a barrel off.
I get them quite often where somebody just cut the barrel off and it doesn't run anymore.
Right.
And then they send it to me and I fix it for them. Now, first thing is they'll...
Is anybody going to say it, or is this Sandhill's brother?
Strip down, and I've got the customer's build list, his build spec right here, which came off the computer when they initially ordered, and then we go over it, in case there's any changes. For now, it's ready to get the gas block back reinstalled, get tube back on, and then the holes will be welded up, the back end will be fixed up, trigger guard, and safety stops, and then bolt tuned up, a bunch of other little stuff. There's about 6 or 8 options on the website. You can pick any of those, but if you just want the Tromix pistol grip and trigger, well, I can do that too. I do one at a time. There'll be one gun will be done, and then sandblasted. It goes on the table, and then after I get about 6 or 8, and then paint 8 or so. So they do kind of go out in batches, but they get built one at a time.
What would you say is the most popular type of conversion? Because not only we talk about the short barrel shotguns, which require the NFA paperwork stuff, but not everybody does that.
No, but you can see how many do. You look at the table, how many long ones you see.
So it's mostly the SBS.
It's almost all SBSs.
Okay.
There's a few. This is going to be a long one. But I probably do about 90% short barrels. So about 9-to-1 ratio build short barrels long. And Yeah, you can see all the level welds here. I'm pretty good. If I'm having a bad day or something, I just grab that. Very popular. We have them in both polymer, which is out, which is very light.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have a solid metal machine.
Okay.
They're quite good.
Now, I like about them is when they fold, they're flat to the firearm, but they're also just enough relief there that you can leave your side plate on.
Yeah.
Your optics.
Yeah, it's designed to go around the optics.
Because with, at least before it's an NFA item, you've got to worry about 922R, so that gives you a nice solid US part for that too.
This is an early one I built a long time ago. Came in for a little work, the owner changed the top cover.
Now, this is what Tony makes for the people that I'm familiar with, or where we're familiar with Tony, is making guns like this that are just for running. And this is 2012, and at the time, this was everything you needed to have the ergonomics of an AR, and the at the time, the theory was to have the ergonomics and whatever amount of similarities to give you the cheek weld, I guess is what I'm getting at, of an AR, but then be able to run the AK for places where the AK is more appropriate to be running. And solid, made out of metal. Rails were the style at the time, and EOTech Aimpoint was really the only two options. And so I was more familiar with them making stuff like this, but at the time, those 12 gauge little things were super hot, the little 12 gauge shorties.
Yeah, the side on the top cover doesn't have, there's a guide shim that's installed to keep the bolt here down. And it doesn't have it, so he sent it back to have that. But it's an early one, custom bayonet legs. We used to make bayonet legs for the SIG 12. It's got poly choke.
Now, is this 7.62 or is this a shotgun?
This is 12 gauge.
Oh.
That's
So with the bayonet lug, was that for looks, or did you guys make a bayonet with it?
No, it was just for looks.
Okay.
We just have the customers that ask for it. So.
Now that I know they exist, I'm going to be asking. I'm a bayonet, that's cool.
And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could modify it.
Oh, I will. Now that I know it's, I didn't even think about it right now.
If you don't have a muzzle device, just have a straight barrel.
Right.
All you have to do is open up an M16 bayonet, just a hair, and it'll go over the barrel.
Oh, okay.
But most guys have a muzzle device
Yeah.
of some type, and it won't go over the muzzle device. It's something
Yeah,
bigger.
kind of thing.
So, which is 1,300 feet per second. Now it's an 1350 plants. Those cycle the Segas every time. So the customer one.
Oh man, I didn't think about it, but all these ammo addicts out there. Do you need some time? Should I leave this paused on the screen so you can learn about the grams or the velocity or whatever it is you nerds want? Oh, it's 12 gauge, 2 3/4, 1,350 velocities. It's got an ounce of 8-shot in there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
This cycle the Segas every time. So if the customer wants cheap ammo that's going to work every time, that's what they're trying to get. The 12-inch guns, the carrier stays just two. Right? And that was my original design because I didn't think that the carrier coming out, it would go back
Yeah,
in.
it has to be guided back in.
And there's a gun I put on the top cover back into that gas. And it was, when I tried the first one, it wasn't just right. Whether or not it would make it back to the hole.
And again, that's not something that you could just take a hacksaw to or read a book. You had to go through many. How many variations do you think you went through getting the small ones to work like that?
I don't know. I probably made about 10 trips to the range Many of the trips, I was cutting the barrel back a little at a time, and changing shells as I cut it back. And then I moved the gas block a little bit, and then I cut it a little more, and keep playing with it.
And then at that point, you're down into the neck of the piston too, so now you're moving the piston or the head of the piston, changing the shape.
There is no piston, it's just bolt carrier directly pinching.
But there's enough pressure, in other words, then in that gas block, I suppose, it's not even in the tube, it's in the block, and then it closes out now.
So there's a little pocket in here that belongs to that.
Oh, that's
But I got it to work. So but now, the other guys supposed to do them. Of course, they just they know that they can cut the barrel to 8 inches.
Yeah.
They know that you bring the gas support back to this position and it's going to work. So they don't have to do all that. It's confident.
Well, that's why we wanted to make sure to give credit where credit's due. Obviously, the people that put in the work are the ones that, are the innovators. Everybody else is just copying.
Trigger relocation.
So if you also do on the basics, do you adjust the gas or
Yeah.
Okay, so
The gas block is regular. Every single time.
See how bad Haas was doing review or did interviews? That's why he's not on YouTube anymore. He's so bad at interviews.
Check the gas ports and adjust them.
and these are the full length standard barrels then.
Yeah, they're 19-inch. Actually,
I'm just kidding. He was a baby back then. This is like the 4th time he's ever said anything on YouTube.
this one's 19. This one, the customer sent it in, it was 22 inches. And I cut it to 18 and we threaded it. So it's about 18 and a quarter or something like that.
You don't use the saw?
I always use a saw unless the customer supplies the grip.
Okay.
If the customer supplies the grip, I'll put on whichever grip they want. I don't really recommend that because there's a critical distance between here and the trigger that has to be maintained. And the way the Tromix trigger guard works and where it's welded into position, it makes the distance using the saw grip perfect to the trigger. If you swap in a different grip, sometimes you end up lunged too close to the trigger or you end up with your hand too far back. So most guys like it where it's at. That's 17. That's an 8-inch barrel. Actually, it was very end of 2004. I had a good customer sent me one, and he asked me to make it in a short barrel shotgun. I wanted it as short as possible. And I wasn't sure I could get it to work. And I had to see one that was cut off short that would run and back. Rest his elbow here, and then have his
Put his elbow in?
yeah, he'll rest his elbow here, and then have his gun in there, and then he can whip it around.
Very cool.
All right, so that's Tromix. I guess you're talking about what other rifle he makes or whatever. So unless he's moved, when we met up with back in 12, if you go to Oklahoma and then you go to Tulsa and then you leave Tulsa and you go out here somewhere, I'm not going to remember exactly where he lives, but let's just say it's like here. Because I have no idea where he lives, but it's like somewhere like in this sort of area. You drive out of Tulsa into all this grass area and you find a little, he gave us the directions or whatever, and it's going to end up being someplace like this where there's a couple of houses around, but it's just a nice place with I dropped it in a bad place. There's a lot more meadows where he's at. So it's just like, there's trees and stuff, but there's just meadows you can see all around. It's just a nice place. Cows, maybe. I don't know what the hell they do out there. I didn't really see. But let's say he's more like this, where they'd have this big, nice meadow. So it seems like a really nice place and lots of land to be able to go out and shoot in and whatnot, kind of real close to Tulsa. But yeah, now that I'm watching that after ever many years it's been, definitely sounded like Sandhills, didn't he? Let's see. Oh, that was G23 buying something. All right, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Throw in some extras again, of course. Actually, you know what I'll do? I was going to do this anyway. Dang. So we're doing the handbook, and I didn't get around to it because I was making my awesome ass video today that you seen earlier, that premiered earlier. This took forever. We are sorry to report tonight another fatality in the epidemic that can trace back to fruit salads. Yesterday in the skies over Texas, an unregistered... That video took like way too long to make, and it's not even half as funny as I thought it was going to be. But hopefully it gets the point across to them. They sound like Charlie Brown teachers to us. But anyway, I'm planning to print out the draft again. I gave away my last draft of the handbook, and I've been working on it a lot. So I need to print out a draft, and I'll print that out. And if you're cool, you won't get your stuff tomorrow, but you're the only order that came into the store today. So I'll just print out that draft and use it this weekend for what I need. I just want to, I don't like going too much without printing a draft. So I know if, it looks right or the balance, whatever. I just want to make sure it looks good as a book before I get too far in some direction or whatever. And then the draft is no good to me. Then I need to work on it again and print it out again. So if you want it, you can have, it'll be the fourth draft of the handbook. And it's way bigger than it used to be. So it'll be bigger than DJ's and bigger than Clover's, because theirs only barely has 100 pages. Now it's like 120. So yeah, that's cool. And I wasn't sure. I was gonna do something today and say that, if somebody wanted to grab that draft, they could purchase something at the store, and then everybody's like, I'm not buying nothing from that dude's store. So yeah, you win by default. Plus, now I know it's going to some dude that'll probably appreciate it, and then it'll be useful. It's full of good info. It's just not finished, right? It'll have some blank pages. Hopefully, let me know if the point got across. I was trying to get the idea to them that, they say a bunch of words that sound good to them, but to people who know what's going on, it sounds like a dog came up with the script. Like they are saying nonsense almost, right? And I don't know if they know they're speaking nonsense or if they think they're brilliant, but they sound like a bunch of idiots. A fruit salad is not steak and it's made out of fruit, right? Like they think that's brilliant, and we're like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're 3 steps away from being not able to take care of yourself. Let's see. So what else do we got going on in here? Everybody has to say hello to everybody. Don't you guys all hang out in all these different chats and say hello to each other in all these different chats? Tony is a rock star when it comes to auto-loading big bore. The 454 SOCOM and the 375 Raptor. See, that's the thing. I do not do people justice when I meet them sometimes, because I'm like, dude, I like your SBRs. And he's like, yeah, I'm famous for these other guns. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like those too, sure. And then I guess he knows about ammo, and I didn't know that. And then, I guess I might have known, but I didn't retain it. But that's good to know, because I'm about to do a whole section of the resource handbook when actually, if you're interested, you might not be interested in this. I can open it here if you want. You're probably not going to be interested in, I've got 4 pages devoted to the history of ammunition and the history of the ammunition industry separately, like 4 pages for one and like 2 or 4 pages for the other. So something like 6 to 8 pages dedicated to the history of ammunition will be in the resource handbook, because I kind of think it's important, because ammunition's freaking awesome, and it's evolved guns to do more stuff, and then that's allowed us to do more stuff with our guns, and that's evolved society and culture, and no one can think about that stuff until we understand it. And once it's in a book, hopefully it'll be a lot easier for everybody to be on the same foot, like, oh shit, like we started hunting, in the 1950s, not in the, 1700s, like recreational hunting. Stuff like that's going to be in there. So that's interesting. I'll try to remember. I'll definitely do a cartoon of Tony now, and then just as a firearm inventor. But then if he's a ammo dude also, that's good to know. I never did make that bayonet because I hate 12 gauge AK so much. I mean, I like Tony and I like that thing. And I know dudes who have those 12 gauge SBSs and they're neat. I'm not shitting on them, but they're not that good. And yeah, I never made a bayonet. I would have, if I would have still been a bayonet dude, I would own a bayonet for it for sure. But the dude I know that has that gun, he doesn't just give it to me. It's an SPS. Patriot's doing something weird here. What does this mean? At gun and barbecue rabbits. So guns and barbecue, something about eating a rabbit, I guess. Barbecuing a rabbit? Forgotten about the 375 Raptor and the 475 SOCOM have been around longer, if I remember. I know about 458 SOCOM. I don't know nothing about 375 Raptor. That could be a fake round for all I know. Right on. Okay, yeah, cool. So they'll fit in the, I'll just put them into one of those bubble envelopes or whatever. Right on. Well, with that, nobody's saying nothing anymore. I'm not here to bloviate. I've been online a while today. So thanks, everybody, for supporting what we do and people that have and the people that do. Thanks for the people that are supporting the other people out there. It's just people doing way the fuck more than I am. Tony Simon drove 16 hours, right? 1,000 miles in a rental. So he paid money to get a car so that he could drive all the way from New Jersey to St. Louis. You got Locked and Loaded. That is a couple. So they both had to take time off, right? Had to travel with two people. I don't know if they drove or flown. So I don't know if they said that to us. But they got there. So they wasn't free, whatever they did. Who else we got? Rhonda is there. You got Pincus is there. You got somebody else was going. Is Diana Mueller going? Mueller? Damn, I never say her name. So anyway, you got a bunch of them doing actual stuff this weekend. Of course, you got the DC project. That's 50 ladies at the national level and even more at the state level, just doing a ton of stuff. Every time I look over there, like Gabby is getting all ready to do something again. And then the other day, somebody was on a TV show again. Oh, that girl in Texas was on a TV show. Did anybody see that one? That was pretty interesting. The clearing the chamber. I don't know, half the time these girls put everything on their circles and then it's not there very long. Here, this is on regular though. So here, can you hear this?
And there are people who are still dealing with pool problems in February. Texas pool situation. So we're starting off.
You know what? I might be able to go to my IG on the phone and play it louder. So I'm going to try that. What did I do? I went to here and then there it is right at the top. That's because I looked at it right there. And then if I click that, you can hear.
And there are people who are still dealing with pool problems from February in the Big Freeze. So I feel for you with the Texas pool situation. So we're starting off here this morning with what is big news, not just in Texas, but across the country, as the legislature has voted along party lines to allow Texas to become the largest state in the nation to let people carry handguns in public without a license or training. And this is an incredibly divisive issue, and there seems to be no real gray area in terms of where people stand on it.
No, people are very opinionated on it. And what we're trying to do on this show is if you are somebody who's struggling to understand another perspective, we're actually going to share both perspectives on this. So as it stands right now, don't go out with your gun and no permit today, because this now will actually head to Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He's said he's going to sign this. It's a matter of time, but the time is not now. So just know that is what exists at this moment. But, so we're going to be the largest state in the country to let people carry handguns in public without a license or without training. But that doesn't mean that other states aren't doing this. There's some 20-odd states that already have very similar laws in place.
And we want to bring in Pete Schulte because I feel like he offers an interesting perspective. He's an active duty police officer in DeSoto. He's also an attorney, and he's joining us live now from Arlington, where he happens to be in a training session today. Pete, thank you for being here. You were not. Were you shocked by this? That this was passed as it was, or were you anticipating it?
We were kind of anticipating it. I mean, and I'm, today I'm speaking on behalf of just being a lawyer, not as my job as a police officer, but.
All right, I'm going to skip forward that if you can hear it.
To not mandate.
And helping us to understand what this will look like from a little bit from a law enforcement perspective and from an attorney as well. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, it's sort of, there's Pete Schulte's website, PeteSchulte.com. It's sort of like this idea that you need a license to drive a car. And if we didn't need a license to drive a car, anybody would be driving a car and they couldn't be penalized if they were pulled over without a license. You'd say, well, you don't really know how to drive, but we can't enforce it, so go on your merry way. And I wonder if there's a real analogy here. Well, let's bring in Jara Hutchins. We talked about how we were going to get her side of this. She's a licensed to carry instructor and a personal protection officer, so she too brings sort of an interesting perspective from both sides. Jara, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Give me some sense. I just set this up by saying, is there an analogy here that this would be the equivalent of saying to somebody over the age of 21, you've never had a driver's ed class, you don't really, perhaps by any measure, are not a good driver, and yet you can drive your car unchecked. Is there an analogy there that's valid, you think?
No, not at all, because driving isn't a civil right. Protecting yourself is a civil right. And the absolute 100% solution to this is that we as firearms instructors and people who are elected to serve us, our representatives, our state senators, mayors, especially those that run on a 2A platform, they need to be using that platform to encourage the people of their districts and towns to be going and getting this education, which is something that they have not done in the past.
So what's the difference between encouraging it versus requiring it?
Well, we've already saw that the requirements failed. The Texas population has a license to carry. Of people that can use licenses, which I think is equally as dangerous on your person. So we have, before we legislate, we kind of do this backwards in Texas. So we need the people that have platforms encouraged to go and small businesses support these strategies and gun stores that offer this kind of training. And I think that if we did that, we really wouldn't have an issue. And another thing that I want to point out really quick to Pete's point is, he says, well, we've got to be able to, go up and ask people that are carrying guns, we need to be able to see their licensure and make sure that they're not a criminal. Nobody own carries. Everybody thought that when this happened in 2016, when open carry came into effect, that it was going to turn into the wild, wild west. Literally, I've seen 3 people since 2016 open carry. Nobody does it, so then how would the police know to question them if the gun was concealed?
Well, it's interesting. You almost are making the point in a way, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying, no pun intended here, that the legislature has jumped the gun in passing this legislation before we know there's solid education in place? Are you at least agreeing that maybe the timing of this, as you say, is reversed, that we've opened ourselves up for some situations where safety is not a priority?
Not at all. The education already existed. The education's already out there. It's been out there. So this never should have been a licensure at all. We always should have had constitutional carry, but we also always should have had an educational component to it that people can choose to go to. We as a society have to hold other people in our society accountable to get proper education for things that require a lot of responsibility, such as owning a gun, carrying a gun.
Yeah, Jared, I know that obviously you're in your profession, you are tasked with educating people on firearms and making them feel comfortable. But I also want to speak to the portion of the population, maybe the moms and the dads who are really worried about things like school shootings, which unfortunately are not as rare as they used to be, and people who say it gives them pause as they learn to understand what this is going to mean for Texas, and they think, gosh, is this going to mean that someone who's angry and upset or disturbed has greater access to enter my child's school, for example?
Well, the law as it stands right now, and as it will stand in the future, even when constitutional carry comes into effect, states that you can't take a firearm into a school. Now, we've seen in the past people have broken that law, even though the law is in place. So it's not helping anything when we infringe on law-abiding gun owners. So law-abiding gun owners, or people who are responsible gun owners, aren't going to go into a school and shoot it up. It's always going to be the people that are breaking the law. So if a parent is concerned about that, and I totally understand it, they need to be seeking out the education, and they need to be taking a more direct approach in protecting their children in schools by advocating for school resource officers and teachers who are willing to go through an extensive amount of training to be able to protect their children.
Jara, I know you don't like the analogy with the car, but I'm going to continue with it. It's it's all I got. It's all I got, girl. Here's the thing. I'm thinking this is the equivalent, again, of everybody speeds. There aren't really enough police to police every highway, so a lot of people get away with it. So why have speed limit signs? Let's just instead educate people that going faster than 20 miles an hour in a school zone is dangerous to children, and hope that they take it upon themselves to be personal and responsible citizens, or personally responsible. It feels that way to me. Like having some level of regulation, background checks, for example, is not a bad thing, and it's not about taking away guns. It's about implementing gun ownership in a way that is reasonable.
And yet, people still speed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not going to...
Well, you can't yell fire in a theater, though. You cannot yell fire in a theater. You will end up arrested. Freedom of speech doesn't mean you can do things that endanger others. It really doesn't, if we want to make this a constitution.
It has nothing to do with freedom of speech. So you're bringing two different things into it. Speeding has nothing to do with freedom of speech. This is a civil right for people to be able to protect themselves. The state government does not need to make money on it, because all you do is move people out that are poverty-stricken, that can't afford the licensure. Okay, so I do a lot of things with WAVE, with my nonprofit, the Women's Awareness and Defense Endeavor, and I go in and I educate low-income women and single moms on how to do this. They can't afford a license. They can't afford this kind of education. So if we want to really make a difference and we want to advocate responsible gun ownership, we need to start digging in to the communities that need it the most, and we need to start volunteering our time for it. So I would wonder if doing that, I would wonder if other gun instructors who say they want to make a difference or who oppose constitutional carry are doing that. The whole point of this is education. Legislation is not going to make a difference in this at all.
Sarah Hutchins, thank you so much. Her website is tier1us.com. It is the Tier 1 Training Academy. I want to,
So I hope that worked, but I thought that was interesting. I saw the piece where you have to yell fire in a movie theater if the theater's on fire, right? And you can definitely do it inappropriately and then expect to be held responsible for the consequences, right? I think I had seen this one first, and it was just the guy with one of his points, and in her text sort of focus on it, talking about how the guy basically just talking about how the guy has that opinion and to be aware of it. Anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. And so I figured I'd post it. I was hoping the audio would be a little bit better, so it wasn't quite such a struggle for the media end of it. But I think that also helps illustrate for anybody that is having any kind of difficulty with your own motivation, certainly realize that we're not the only ones. The people that you hang out with are not the only ones in the Second Amendment fight. There are people in the Second Amendment fight of everything. Like we are as inclusive can get. We're as woke can get. There's a lot of different people doing a lot of different stuff. And I hope that video is a good indication. I don't know that girl. I don't think I've ever been in the same room with her, but she's been around for a little while as an instructor, I guess. And then I've seen people repost her stuff before. And then at some point, you start to see a number of people repost somebody, and then all of a sudden they're sort of in the scene or whatever. So that's sort of where she came out of being reposted a bunch of times. So I don't know if she's new to the scene or what, but people seem to know who she is. And she certainly seems competent, right? And what I like about it is she's a representative of the new. Like there's so many different ones. So she's not the only version of the new, but she's one of many, many crayons in the big 64 pack of Second Amendment advocates that we've got on our side now. And the conversations they have aren't just what Night Strike has, right? Like they're not just shall not be infringed louder and louder or in a different language or, quieter. It's a whole different tact and a whole different level of awareness. So awesome to see new strategies being offered by new people, and those not just existing, but being referenced by whatever that was, some sort of television show, maybe. I don't know. That's my other problem is I have no idea what that was. I'm guessing it was some sort of morning television or something in Dallas or Texas. I don't know. I think she's in Texas. So, and that's the thing. I don't know her name. She's Clearing the Chamber is her name. And then she represents, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 girls that are doing that stuff. And that's just the girls. And then there's all kinds of other people out there. And we do have some competition shooters that are sort of adjacent, right? That stand next to people when they're doing 2A stuff. And we got some hunters that are in the same way. So there's always a potential that as others witness what these girls are doing and each other are doing, that it's not going to be lost on our side as well. So try to give you a little glimpse into what's going on out there. Here's another thing. Ozzy's saying driver's license is not a right. It doesn't compare. I forget where this one comes from, but I didn't come up with this one, but it's awesome. A driver's license, I think it's from one of those books I was reading, probably that first boring one. So Glick or Kleck or whoever, one of them people. A driver's license doesn't, the driver's license scheme isn't designed, let's say, the driver's licensing scheme isn't designed by government to prohibit people from driving. This driver's license scheme is derived by government to facilitate everyone driving. As long as you can drive, you drive. Whereas the intent of most oppressive, infringing gun control, and which has been rebranded for the 17th time to now be called quote unquote gun safety, is more often prohibitive. It's a licensing scheme designed to prohibit as many people as possible, designed to make the process complicated. So you're right, it's not a comparison with driver's licenses, but I like this new nuance. It's not a new nuance. I guess it's from the 90s, but I don't hear anybody talk about that one online. And I'm not saying it good, but hopefully people will pick that one up and smooth it out and say it gooder. Let's see. She has a firearm company in Texas, and Coleon Noir donated $3,000 for people in Texas who can't afford training to get it from her for free. Except that Coleon Noir doesn't like 2A, and he's not a gun dude, according to the people on the internet. But he also gave $3,000 to that chick so that she could train people for free. Here's the other thing about Texas. They got Rachel Malone, and she's the chick that went around petitioning open carry, from what I understand, like on her own dime. And she did it so effectively and so well that she made a difference. And then she went on to school or whatever, and then she graduated and got a job. And then when they caught wind of the fact that she had been a Second Amendment advocate, I think she fired her and made it uncomfortable, so she left the occupation and struggled for a bit, and that's when Gun Owners America picked her up and hired her as the Texas, whatever that's called. So she's like the Texas Crump, right? Except she's a girl and she's grassroots, running around getting it done. So does that mean Texas has the most grassroots chicks of all states? I don't think so, because we got Oklahoma and they're kicking Texas's butt. But, and then Arizona, what am I saying? I think we're kicking butt. Actually, I think Arizona wins. So if anybody thinks they've got a state that has more better 2A chicks in it, then fight me. Let's go. Make a video and say about how good your chicks are about 2A. And And I'm not saying I'll make a video, but I'll talk shit on my show about it. Anyway, but yeah, that's changing the face of 2A. They're not calling bloke with the hunting vest and the big beard and is like blah, 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 right, to talk about guns, because that's what people expect when you're talking about guns on that news show. They're talking to a chick, right? And she's talking about stuff that matters. And she's telling them no and things like that and drinking her coffee and whatnot, being a girl. So, yeah, pretty awesome. We're winning. All the states have hot chicks, is the thing. Texas has a lot of 2A chicks. It does. It has some. Now, they're cheating by having a lot of land, and they steal a bunch of chicks out of other places by giving them, I'm pretty sure they get a Jeep and some, like a horse, and puppies, boots. So Texas cheats by giving girls a bunch of free stuff. But aside from that, yeah, they got more chicks because they got a bunch of extra land. All right, well, now we're being sexist and degrading, so we'll do that stuff off air. Whoever showed up, you're more 2A than other people who sat around being weird and not doing anything this week, probably. And we're not as 2A as all the girls that are kicking our ass on 2A, really. They're changing the face of it, and yeah, it makes it easier for us. Eventually, we'll just be able to sit around talking about nothing but whatever we bought this week or whatever so-and-so bought this week, or maybe we already do that. All right, thanks for showing up. We'll be back to pick you up later.